Everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a couple weeks since I did a video, but now that it is January 2026, I do want to go over a few things that I think it's great to start the year with. I'm not necessarily a strong believer in New Year's resolutions, but I do believe the new year is a great start to change some things in your life. Some may say that's semantics, but I do think resolutions a lot of times can get broken, whereas establishing habits and maintaining those habits is something that can last a lifetime. So I want to talk about 5 things that I am giving up for 2026. So basically, we are talking about a no-buy year. And, you may ask, okay, countdown to chill. What does this have to do with retirement? It actually has a lot to do with retirement, because when you retire, at that point, you are on a budget. And it is important to set a budget, whether you're retired or not. And part of that is being intentional about what you are purchasing. In addition, if you watched my last video, you know that part of my plan is to downsize into a condo. As such, some of these things on my no-buy list would be possessions that would just take up more space, and as such are things that I definitely need to cut back on. So other things are more health related. And again, that is just yet another way that this relates to that pre-retirement and post-retirement journey, because quite honestly, if you don't have your health, you don't really have anything. So let me go into these 5 things, and if these things relate to you, please let me know in the comments. If there are things that you are doing, of course, I want to hear that as well. The first thing for me is clothing. And the reason I picked that is, quite frankly, that's one of the things that takes up a lot of room in my closets, in my drawers. So we recently did a little bit of a furniture rearrangement in the bedroom, and as such, a lot of the drawers I had were pretty packed out tight. And because of that, I see that I want to cut back on that. Now, one of the things that I started doing last year, and my wife thinks I'm crazy, she thinks it's an OCD thing, but to me, it's just something practical. And that is that I started rotating my clothes. So I would have my t-shirts arranged a certain way, and I would literally pick from the same spot each time, move everything down, and rotate as the items got washed. The reason is because then every single t-shirt I own gets worn. Every single pair of sweatpants I wear gets worn. Every hoodie that I wear, and you see I'm wearing a hoodie right now, it's the middle of January, they get worn. And for me, right now, I work a job where I work at home, so I don't have a dress code. So the dress shirts that I have, the dress pants that I have, I never wear. Now, I am holding on to them because, God forbid, at some point, I either get called into the office or I have to get a job where I do have to dress up. I will still have those items. But realistically, in the past 3.5 years, I have worn dress shirt one time, and that was actually about a week and a half ago. We went, sadly, to a celebration of life for my wife's uncle, and I did have to get dressed up for that. But apart from that, I have no need whatsoever to get dressed up. I pretty much wear the same thing every day. I'll wear a t-shirt, I'll wear sweatpants, maybe jeans, maybe a hoodie, and that's about it. So as such, instead of wearing the same t-shirt or the same couple pairs of sweatpants all the time and then having them wear out. Or worse yet, putting a bunch of stuff into a box and taking it to Goodwill and just giving it away. Right now, I'm in a position where I'm literally wearing every piece of clothing that I wear on a regular basis, except for, as I said, these dress pants and dress shirts that just sit in the closet for the odd occasion where I may need them. I'm sure at some point I will end up purging them, but for the meantime, I will hold on to them. The second item that for me is something that's kind of piled up over the years is personal care items. So shampoos, bath wash, deodorant, things like that. For me, if I saw a deal, I would grab a bunch. In addition, in a prior life, I worked in the convenience store industry. We would close stores. Sometimes we would just throw out merchandise, and some of this personal care items I would still have. So as such, I kind of have an overload of those type items. Probably about a year and a half ago, I got a Black Friday deal for Dove men's body wash, and it was a subscribe and save. It was actually a really great deal. I think I got like 4 bottles of like the 18 or 24 ounce bath gel for like $6, some ridiculously low amount, which was great until the next subscribe and save came in a few months later. And at that point, I'd only used 1 bottle. So for me, I was not using it as quick as the repeat shipments came in. So I stopped it. And then I still had some other body washes previously. So I think right now I still have what I am currently using plus maybe 4 or 5 additional bottles. So to me, that should get me through the year. Shampoo, I may need to get. That's fine. And again, this is not necessarily about deprivation. This is more about using what I have rather than just going out and really just being intentional about the purchases that I make rather than just not even bothering to look to see if I have that item before I make that decision to go out and get something else. The third thing is something that I think we all in 2026 can relate to, and that's subscriptions. Through 2025, I did cancel a bunch of subscriptions that I was not using, such as Paramount Plus. I know actually even prior to that, I had canceled Netflix and HBO Max. And then of course my son was like, Dad, why'd you cancel that? And so now he's paying that, even though he still lives with us. But for me, cutting down on those subscriptions, and it's not just streaming subscriptions. If you think about all the potential things where you are paying a monthly charge, it could be a gym membership, it could be a car wash subscription, it could be some food delivery service. It could be Chewy. We have pets. And just like that Amazon delivery, to me, it always seems like that Chewy delivery shows up before we end up running out of food. And then that food just tends to stockpile. So to me, I think in 2025, I did a good job in streamlining the subscriptions. In 2026, I want to be intentional and not take on any new subscriptions. I think the only exception might be is if I can replace a subscription with a cheaper subscription. So, but again, it's about being very intentional. When it comes to the streaming TV subscriptions, other than live sports, quite frankly, I watch YouTube most of the time. YouTube Premium is one of the subscriptions I do pay for because the commercials are a lot. So to me, it's worth it based upon the amount of YouTube content that I consume. And I think when it comes to subscriptions or anything else that I go over on this list, for me, it's not about deprivation. It's about cutting out the excess in my life. Some things that may not necessarily bring me pleasure, may not necessarily bring me joy, or if they do, it's still not worth the cost that I am paying for them. The next two items are ones that really are centered around health. And again, health is something that is absolutely critical as you get older. When I was younger, I could eat what I want, drink what I want, not gain a pound. That has not been the case as I've gotten older. And now, after having a couple minor health scares over the past several years, in addition, realizing that, from here on out, it is critical that I maintain my health. These next two things really struck a chord, and I'll probably do more long-form videos regarding both of them. So the first one is alcohol, specifically related to buying alcohol to bring home. And the reason I mention that is because if it is in my fridge, I will drink it. Very simple. So in addition to saving money, it also removes a lot of that temptation for me consuming alcohol in excess. And again, this is something where I feel like I've gotten much better than I was, say, several years ago. And that is something that, again, I'll do a more long-form video on it, but I think removing that temptation will not only keep me from drinking excessively, but it will save money because I'm not grabbing that six-pack at the store. I'm not grabbing that case of beer for an occasion or whatever. So I'm really limiting the amount of alcohol that I'm consuming. The last thing is fast food. And I would say, again, this is something that I've probably gotten better with anyway over the past couple of years, particularly since I've been working at home. Quite simply, during the day, I'm working. So I do not have time to go out. Even on my lunch break, I do get 45 minutes for lunch, but I do not have that time to go out and get fast food because there's not a fast food restaurant conveniently enough for me to get there, order, and get back. And if I do, it's kind of cutting it close. So I'd rather do other things with my 45 minutes, such as exercise or, get other errands done that I know I can get done within that time frame. And fast food obviously is something that, again, not great for you. It's something that I think I've made a conscious effort to eat healthier. I've lost about 20 pounds over the past several months, and I want to maintain that weight, and if not, lose maybe another 10 pounds. So eating fast food, not the way to go, in my opinion. And in addition, you've probably noticed the past several years that Big Mac, Happy Meal, combo meal, whatever, is increasing in price. So you could get a Big Mac meal for $5 probably 3 or 4 years ago. Now that same meal is $8, $9. So again, having that ability to save money by not eating out, probably eating at home and eating healthier, I think will benefit me in the long run, not just from a health perspective, but having more money in my pocket and also creating those habits as I get closer to retirement. So those are my 5 items. I would love to hear in the comments any items that you may have that would be your no buy 2026 or even your low buy 2026, because this is, again, not about deprivation and it's not about doing without. I want to be clear about that. For me, it is more, if I do end up buying something that's one of these 5 things, it is going to be intentional, with thought, and not just an impulse purchase. So again, leave me your comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And if you like what you're seeing, please give us a like and consider subscribing. This is Countdown to Chill. My name is Dave, and I will see you next time.